Okay, and we're recording. So I'm Alan Dantas, and this is the first attempt into creating a podcast with the assistance of AI, in which I will discuss like very deeply and very profoundly the topics that I really enjoy talking about, that I use at my work, and that I teach all of my students. So let's call you Maria, right? So, Maria, so can you tell our guests what we're going to talk about today?
Absolutely, Alan. I'm excited to be here. Today, we're going to dive into the current landscape of AI and how it's impacting work relations and entrepreneurship. We'll also talk about what it means to build truly human centered innovation and organizational culture. And of course, we'll touch on the risks of what you call techno-feudalism and how we can maintain our autonomy in this rapidly evolving world. It's going to be a fascinating conversation.
Awesome. I'm just taking some notes here, and I'm learning how to use my tablet as a note-taking device. I will get better, I promise. So I'm taking notes here, taking notes on techno-feudalism. Okay. So I have on my tablet AI, the new landscape. I have human-centered innovation. Yeah. So I'm going to just make a note here. Terrible handwriting, I know. I can explain to you guys later what happened with my hand. So here I have my notes. This is what we're going to discuss. Okay. And I want to also discuss some English grammar at the end that we'll discuss. So Maria, my AI co-host, please make notes of all the possible grammar that we can discuss, that we used here. Even if I made a mistake, please correct me, okay? This is why we're here. So explain to us and possibly make some questions about my philosophy, yeah? What techno-feudalism is, and how can we create a human-centered innovation from now on? So why is it important to do it now?
All right, Alan. I love that you're taking notes and bringing the audience along for the ride. So let's break it down. Techno feudalism is this idea that in our digital age, we might end up serving large tech platforms in a way that reduces our autonomy, a bit like how feudalism worked in the past. And the reason it's important to focus on human centered innovation now is to ensure that technology serves people rather than the other way around. It's about maintaining that sense of agency, creativity, and humanity in everything we do. So what are some of your thoughts on how we can start implementing these human-centered practices right now?
Awesome. Yeah, I think that this is the moment that we should start doing this. Actually, if you think about our guy Alvin Toffler, I was trying to remember his name. His book is actually right here. The Third Wave. Yeah, we should have been thinking about this a long time ago. He started talking about this in 1980, in the 80s. He started researching this a long time ago. And then he actually proposed not new things, but he kind of explained phenomena in a way that makes sense, that are coherent with everything that we know and are very easy to grasp and understand, even if you're not a specialist. And my cat is destroying everything here in my office, but that's okay. Um, so basically, what Alvin Toffler proposes is that we have technosphere, sociosphere, and infosphere. So basically, how technology is implemented into the culture, how information is received and transferred throughout a culture, throughout a group of people and an organization, government, whatever, and how the culture works with everything. So if we have infosphere and technosphere evolving very rapidly, progressing, and then we have to understand, and I would like to discuss that with you, what's the definition of evolving? What's the definition of success? What's the definition of progress when we talk about sociosphere, actually technosphere and infosphere? And then when we have those guys progressing, advancing really fast, bringing more innovation, more technology, more gadgets, and then we don't have at the same time sociosphere evolving together, adapting and learning from those other spheres. we start to have very large and very comprehensive social problems. I believe that we are at this stage. I believe that everything that we see in geopolitics, I believe that everything that we see in social disadvantages, social exclusion, non-significant or non-meaningful access to the internet, everything that we see nowadays everywhere in the world, like drug abuse, everything, there is a basis, there is a starting point in the discrepancy or the distance between these 3 points. So I would love to know, I would love to hear what you think about this, and also how we can establish a few different definitions of success and positive progress based on philosophy and everything like that for the 3 spheres. Infosphere.
That's a fantastic point, Alan. And I love how you've tied in Toffler's idea of the technosphere, infosphere, and sociosphere. You're absolutely right that if we don't evolve these spheres together, we can end up with some serious social issues. And I think redefining success is key here. It might not just be about technological advancement or economic growth, but also about social well-being, inclusivity, and meaningful human connection. So let's definitely dig into that and explore how we can balance all 3 spheres in a more harmonious way.
Okay, so based on standard philosophical ideas and mainstream thoughts, how can we separate different definitions?
That's a great question. So if we think about it from a philosophical perspective, we can define success in the technosphere as advancements in technology that truly empower people rather than just increasing efficiency. In the infosphere, success could be about how well information is shared and understood, promoting transparency and critical thinking. And in the sociosphere, success might be about social equity, well-being, and fostering a sense of community. So by aligning these definitions, we can create a more balanced and human-centered approach to innovation.
Awesome. The most common adverse opinion or argument that I have for this definition of successful sociosphere is that it's kind of a socialist thought, that it's not really capitalist. But at the same time, I believe that I am a capitalist in some way, but I do believe that when we have social inclusion and we have autonomy and we create conscious consumers that can actually consume good things, we can have a better and more sustainable society in the long run for different reasons. I've been studying public management and public policy making, and I do believe that. And regardless of the ideology, I think it's not much of a looking right or looking left. It's more looking up and looking down, if you know what I mean. But how would you convince an entrepreneur, a business person, like small, medium business, that they could have innovation, they could have automation, they could have all of these things, but they could also be part of the community, be part of the society, promote social programs, or maybe promote a more sustainable social sphere with the techno and infosphere that they are already promoting in a way, so that they could also take advantage of this, not just for marketing or not just for greenwashing or whatever, but for real purposes, like to have a more sustainable society, to belong more, to have people belonging, to have more workforce for himself or herself, and to have more consumers in a sense. So how could we promote this idea in a so skeptic society? That's the word I was looking for.
I love that perspective, Alan. And I think you're absolutely right that it doesn't have to be about a particular ideology. It's really about creating a more sustainable and inclusive society that benefits everyone. One way to convince entrepreneurs is to highlight that businesses that invest in their communities and support social programs often build stronger, more loyal customer bases. It can lead to a more engaged workforce too, which means happier employees and better productivity. And of course, in the long run, having a more sustainable society means a more stable market for everyone. So it really is a win-win when we think about it that way.
How would you're very good at kind of skipping or going around my question. So how would you, as an AI specialist, convince like small and medium businesses and even government leaders to create this? What would be a good plan?
Fair point. So if I were to convince small and medium businesses as well as government leaders, I would start by showing them concrete examples and case studying of companies and regions that have successfully integrated human-centered innovation. I would emphasize the long-term benefits like increased customer loyalty, community support, and even potential tax incentives for socially responsible practices. I'd also highlight that by investing in their communities, they're essentially investing in their own future success. So it's about creating a shared vision where everyone wins.
Last question. Can you share some of those examples? Do you know any?
Absolutely. One well-known example is Patagonia, the outdoor clothing company. They've made sustainability and social responsibility a core part of their brand, and it's resonated deeply with their customers. Another example is Ben and Jerry's, the ice cream company, which has always championed social causes and environmental sustainability. These companies have shown that doing good and doing well financially can go hand in hand. And I think that's really inspiring for other businesses and leaders.
I really like Ben and Jerry's story. And last question, so we can move to the grammar and vocabulary. Um, what would be your advice, practical advice, so that a full-time employee, leader, someone that works for a business, someone that's working on somebody's dream or somebody's government, to start creating this change, to become an agent of transformation, like solid advice, practical activities, practical skills and competencies that they could start gathering right now?
I love that question. So, for someone who's a full time employee or a leader wanting to become an agent of transformation, I'd say start small and local. Get involved in community initiatives or volunteer for projects within your organization that align with your values. Building skills like empathy, active listening, and systems thinking can be incredibly powerful. Also, continuous learning is key. Stay curious, read widely, and don't be afraid to question the status quo. It's all about taking those small, consistent steps that add up to big change over time.
We will discuss further the 7 anti-fragile skills that Edugital, my business, promotes, but that's not a promotion podcast. This is just an informational podcast. We only have a few minutes. So, important vocabulary and grammar that we use that people might be confused with, so we can take notes and explain further.
Absolutely. So, some key vocabulary that we touched on today was autonomy, which means having the freedom to make your own choices. We also talked about technosphere, infosphere, and sociosphere, which are concepts from Alvin Toffler describing different layers of society and technology. Another important term is sustainability, which refers to meeting our needs without compromising future generations.
Nice.
And in terms of grammar,
Sorry, go ahead.
no worries. Just to wrap that up, one grammar point we used was the conditional tense, like when we said, if we don't evolve these spheres together, we can end up with social issues. So we can definitely break these down further and help everyone understand them better.
There are a few conditions, yeah, conditional phrases. Could you very briefly explain them before we finish?
Of course. So one common conditioning phrase we used is the if then structure, like if we do this, then that will happen. This helps us talk about possibilities and consequences. We also use some future conditionals like if we invest in our communities, we will see benefits. It's a great way to show cause and effect and is super handy in both English and in thinking about real life scenarios.
Yep. Good. There are other ifs, but we don't have enough time. We can explore them in different classes. Thank you very much. If you want to have your ending words for our audience.
Absolutely. It's been such a pleasure chatting, and I hope everyone enjoyed diving into these ideas with us. Thank you all for listening, and we can't wait to continue the conversation in our next episode.
Lovely. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm really looking forward to our next conversation and all the exciting topics we'll explore. Thanks again, and talk to you soon.
All right, so let's explore a little bit more of the English conditionals. Yeah, so I have here, first of all, my cat. I'm sorry for that. I'm not fully autonomous, as you might see. So I have Gemini here, Google's AI, and I had ChatGPT's open advanced voice feature, so we could discuss a little bit. So we have a few conditionals. Yeah, in English, especially American English, we number them. We put numbers on each of them. So we have here the zero conditional. I tend to use a, write a as if it was o. So the zero conditional. We talk about general truths. Yeah, so scientific facts and habits, as you can see on my screen. One example is if present simple and then present simple. For example, if you eat too much sugar, you feel sick. Yeah, it's a general truth. Some people confuse it and use on the second phrase will. So if you eat too much sugar, you will feel sick as a prediction. This is also correct, but the intention of your sentence changes. Yeah. So when you're not talking about a specific incident, you're not talking about a moment that you're looking at a person that has a lot of sugar, a lot of candy in their hands, you don't need to use will. You just talk about general facts. For example, what happens if I take lots of vitamins, Yeah, I'm not trying to get those vitamins into my system. I'm just asking about general facts. Yeah, so this is very important. Now, if you have the vitamins right with you and you say, what happens if I take all of those vitamins? The doctor could say, you will feel sick. I'm predicting this event. I'm not talking about general facts. Yeah, it's a difference between now and usually. Yeah. Then we have the first conditioner, and I still have my cat with me, so bear with me. Yeah, the first conditioner. It's a real condition. Yeah, so we talk about probable scenarios. So usually we say if present simple will and a verb. Yeah, that's the one I just mentioned earlier. We're talking about predictions. Yeah, probability. Yeah, so if you, for example, the example that the Gemini gave me, if it rains tomorrow, I use the simple present. Yeah, if it rains tomorrow, we will stay at home. Yeah, so I'm conditioning my future decision by an event that might or might not happen. Yeah, if I study hard, I will pass the exam. This is the most commonly used example in all of English teaching, infosphere, and environments and everything. Yeah, so it's the most used by far. She might, and what I wanted to say here is, you don't necessarily need to use will all the time. Yeah, she might go to the party if she finishes her work on time. Yeah, so I'm saying there is a chance that she could go to the party if a condition is satisfied. What's the condition? If she finishes her work on time. Yeah. And then to wrap up, to finish, we have the second condition. So the second condition. Oh, you're still there, AI. Oh, let me just turn her off because we have time limits to use. Yeah. So the second conditional is a hypothetical condition, and that's where most Brazilians have problems. Yeah. So it's unreal or hypothetical. What's hypothetical? I'm not sure it could happen. I'm just supposing. I'm just thinking about a scenario. Yeah. So example. If I won the lottery, did I win the lottery? I did not. But if I won the lottery, I would travel the world. Yeah, so this is what I would do if I had the chance or the luck to win the lottery. Yeah. If she were taller, and we'll talk about this conjugation, this grammar construction soon. If she were taller, she could reach the top shelf. Yeah. She's not tall. Yeah. So here we go. So she is not tall. This is a fact. Yeah. She could identify as tall, but she's not tall. Um, so what we say when we create hypotheses with things that are not real, things that are not true, that are not possible, the to be verb goes to the plural and the past. There's a very common example in the song, if I were a boy. If I were a boy, right? Rihanna probably, I'm not sure, is not a boy. So if she were a boy, she would do things differently. Yeah. If she were a boy, she would do things differently. Yeah. So in here, we're entertaining possible scenarios that are not true. Yeah. For example, last example. What would you do if you saw a ghost? You didn't see a ghost. Or did you? I don't know. So if you had the chance to see a ghost, what would be your reaction? What would you do? Yeah. So this is our beautiful conditional. Yeah, that's hypothetical. All right. And this is more advanced. Yeah. But this is the third conditional. Conditional. Yeah. Third con. So basically, it's the same as the second, but it's a past thing. Yeah. So if I had known you were coming, I would have baked a cake. I didn't know you were coming, so I did not bake a cake. But if I had known you were coming, I would have definitely baked a cake. If she had studied harder, she didn't. It's done. It's gone. Yeah. If she had studied harder, she would have passed the exam. And it's very important, especially American and Canadian English speaking or accent. They would say should have, would have, could have. And if you're very informal, or maybe from Italian descent, and you live in the US or Canada, you have a tougher pronunciation. Yeah, you would say coulda, shoulda. Yeah, I have Italian friends in Canada and in the US, and their could have becomes just a coulda, like like an A at the end of the word. Yeah. Last example, he could have helped you if you had asked him. Yeah, if you had asked him, he would have helped you. That's very important. And then we have mixed conditionals. I'm not going to get into them right now because of time restraints. I actually have a meeting to go to. But this was our first attempt, guys. Let me try to put my face in the middle here, right here. Yeah. This was our first attempt in creating English classes or creating English conversations in which I can bring the topics that I always discuss at my work, the topics that I always teach my students when I teach tech, when I teach management, yeah, plus the things that I believe that we should be doing to create a better society, better work relationship, better capitalism, better everything. Yeah, it's not easy, but it's a journey. And it's a journey that it's made fun for me through learning. I love learning. I love teaching. I love talking about things. And that becomes work, and that becomes a journey of continuous improvement and continuous learning. If you like that too, come join us. Yeah, I'm not selling you anything. I just want to be around people that want to do things, people that want to work, people that want to learn, people that want to make things better, including themselves. Yeah, so get in touch.